11 a.m. Eastern. A big welcome to everyone who has joined us from different parts of the world. Thank you for joining. I know it's a midweek webinar, which is always one of the toughest to get into, but I promise you there's a lot of insights to uncover, and we have got real experiences from one of the great champions at Greenhouse who has been, helping the entire AR team create Audit-Ready AR all through the year. All right. So audit season in general, right? As we are approaching audit season, it actually doesn't create the risk during accounts receivable, right? It exposes the risk. That's the insight that we generally see, but it's a little bit more tougher to believe until we hear about those experiences during the audit season. So what audits really do, in my opinion, is it shines a spotlight on processes, AR processes that has been running informally, if you can say, running informally all throughout the year, right? And audit season specifically, it reveals those gaps that was always there, but nobody really focused on it, right? It was never really fully visible. And for many teams, the challenge isn't, the audit itself. It's actually the scramble to put together all the pieces, the operational pieces that are lying around across spreadsheets, across portals, across different systems of record, right? And when the auditor comes knocking and the auditor simply asks, simple questions to prove the integrity of the processes, to prove the integrity of the revenue that's come in, that's when the panic starts. And most teams struggle over there, right? And I feel this is where AI and automation, it fundamentally changes the whole landscape. You have heard of these as buzzwords, but what it actually does is that instead of reacting during audit season, finance teams, they can actually build an always on process, an always on AR model, which is always audit ready, where every interaction, every conversation, every decision, every approval, everything is captured, it's accessible. There's no going back and panicking about decisions which were made 6 months back, right? So what we want to tell is that with the right systems in place, audit readiness, it becomes a byproduct of how you operate on a daily basis. It's never going to be a fire drill like how it was in the past, right? With that, I would like to introduce both of our speakers for today. We have Kellyanne Kratz, who's a senior AR manager at Greenhouse. She has been a huge champion at Greenhouse, and she has been responsible for, collecting over 250 million in revenue every year. And she has magically done that with a lean team. And she has a lot of insights to offer on how Greenhouse has not just done it over 1 year, but has done it time and time again, and has acted as a pioneer, as a visionary, for other teams to follow. We also have Pradyut Hande, who is the Director of Product Marketing at Grofin. He also has the experience of talking to various leaders in the accounts receivable space. He has spoken to CFOs and different other visionaries, different transformative leaders who want to really talk about their problems and who want to have a proactive approach to collecting cash faster, right? So we have two amazing speakers who have a lot of insights, and I'm sure they will have a lot to talk about once we get away. Just a couple of hygiene checks before we move into the session. So the session will be for 45 minutes and it'll last for 10 to, there'll be a 10 to 15 minute session towards the end for Q&A. All the audience, all the guests will be muted during the session, but you can drop your questions in the Q&A section or the chat window, and we'll pick them up right after the webinar. Right after the general session of the webinar. The session recording and the slides will be shared via email in 1 to 2 days. So there's no need to take notes. There's no need to, screenshot anything. We will be sending it over to your emails if you have registered, right? And if there's anything specific that you want to talk to us, if you want to schedule a demo specific to your business use case, there'll be a QR code at the end of the webinar, and you can scan that and we'll get back to you immediately. With that, I'll hand it over to Pradit and Kalyan. Break a leg.
Thank you so much, Ashish. That was an amazing introduction. fairly flattering as well. For me, at least, for Kellyanne, I don't think it did complete justice, because when you said that she's been a champion for AR at Greenhouse. She's been a champion for AR working with Grofin as well. But Kellyanne, I think before we set the ball rolling, one key question that I want to pose to the audience here as well, and I think we discussed this when we were brainstorming on how to structure this entire narrative, right? Is it that audit season creates AR challenges, or does it actually like expose them brutally? Because it's such a pivotal moment or a window of operation for any AR team on an annual basis. So yeah, I think this is like a great way to just sort of like set the ball rolling and like get the conversation going. Kellyanne, basic top level thoughts before we get into like the meat of the conversation.
I always joke that this is the accountant's version of the chicken or the egg. That philosophical question, like
Right,
which came first.
right,
But as far as like top of mind goes, I've always felt that audit season just exposes any issues you currently have. Again, I love to use the running a marathon
right,
analogy, right? You don't just wake up one day and you're like, I'm gonna run those 26.3, point 4 miles. I don't know exactly what it is. Clearly, I've never ran a marathon. You don't just wake up one day and you're like, I'm gonna do this whole thing today.
right.
There's months and months of training that leads up to this, and AR is very similar to that, and we'll dive in a little further. But yeah, I definitely short answer, it exposes them. That problems that are already there.
Fantastic. And I think since we've set the ball rolling here, I think it's important for us to like take a quick glance at what some of the key symptoms of a bleeding accounts receivable team get exposed to during audit season, particularly, right? And I think a lot of this stems from the fact that processes continue to be manual. A lot of teams continue to rely on traditional spreadsheets, data remains siloed, so on and so forth. But I think there are a few pointers that we have at least been able to identify as patterns with regards to some of the conversations that we've had with industry leaders. And Kelly, and you also have encountered some of this during your time at Greenhouse as well. One of the key things that did come up was the fact that collectors rely on inbox searches to answer audit questions, right? Something that you might want to add here in this case.
Yeah, definitely. I can't say how many times early in my career, before my time at Greenhouse, when, audit season came up and the auditors are looking for information and the information is just everywhere. Sometimes it's locally saved on someone's drive. Like I see teams use spreadsheets to rebuild account timelines. Like those things are saved. That information is saved on someone else's hard drive. I can't even access it. So using inboxes, usually shared inboxes, personal inboxes, just to look for this customer's account to see if there was any chatter about this particular invoice, this particular payment, and
Right.
then taking all of those timelines that you have separately and putting them together. It's like what I imagine would be like filming a movie. You have all these different
True.
scenes, and then you go to the
shot
cutting
by
room
shot
and you
by
put them.
different directors in different
Yeah, yeah,
locations, and then you sort
all
of
in
like
different
have to stitch it all
languages,
together. Yeah, correct.
all on different filming formats, different locations, different lighting, different music. Yeah, and then kind of putting it all together and trying to come up with an Oscar-winning movie, right? That's pretty relevant. We just had the Oscars the other day.
That's
Um,
true.
but
No,
documentation is
no
just kind of
sinners,
scattered
no
all over the
sinners
place. Yeah.
here.
No, I haven't seen it yet, so I'll have to get to that. I hear it's very good though. But yeah, no award-winning movies like Sinners here, because everything is just kind of all over the place, and you're spending more time looking for
Mhm,
an answer for an auditor than you are actually collecting and actually doing the work that you are supposed to be doing. So that was definitely one of the biggest pain points that I experienced early in
mhm.
my AR career when audit season came up and I was like, "Oh, wait, maybe the system we have doesn't work. Maybe we need to make some changes because this can't happen again next year."
Right, absolutely. Yeah, you want to keep learning from the mistakes that you've already
Yeah.
made, but at the same time, also keep refining the foundations
Yes.
that ensure that audit season continues to remain business as usual for a high performing AR team. Right. And
Mhm.
the fact that I think every AR team needs to go through audit season once to understand that there are nuances, there are like details that they need to get into, there are things that they could have done especially better, right? And these are some of the symptoms that definitely keep coming up, right? The fact that dispute documentation can be very incomplete and scattered.
Mhm.
Bad debt write-offs can't be backed up easily. A lot of it stems from the fact that data is not consolidated.
Mhm.
Communication threads are like all over the place. There's no consolidated AR inbox. And another reason, like another symptom in this case is the fact that, both finance and AR, spend days reconciling the same balances.
Mhm.
I do believe that you have something to add here as well, based on your personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, I usually like to, now that I'm a little more seasoned and I've learned all those hard lessons that needed to be
Let's
learned.
not let's not like put it down mildly. I think it's a little more than season, because you've
Yeah,
done
right.
so much at Greenhouse with such a lean team of four, and adopting AR automation and AI enabled by all of that.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
please,
Thank
bask in
you.
the glory.
Thank you. I'll try not to be humble for a few minutes, though. Kidding. I think one of the things that I learned was through all the trials and tribulations was really doing that month-end reconciling is really what's
Right,
important. Before those books close, all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, all that good stuff. And then if you do that 12 times throughout the year and you spend a couple extra minutes focusing on all the data that took place this month, were your invoices billed correctly, were your payments applied correctly, is there anything unapplied, outstanding credit memos, all of that good stuff. You take the time to do that on a monthly basis. When audit season comes around, it's like not even a question because I know I
right,
did it 12 times and it looked good. Now I don't have to worry about it because all of my ducks have been in a row. And then
true.
when it comes time for finances asking me questions, even on a monthly basis, not audit related, when finance is asking me questions that for things that are audit related, it's just right there. It's already available. I feel confident about it. It's good to go. We're ready to rock and roll. So, and then they get what they need too. Everybody gets what they need.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it just comes back to the fact that getting your foundations right is so critical,
Mhm.
in any scenario, whether it's year end,
Yeah.
whether it's audit season. And then, yeah, simply put, that audit season, it creates fire drills which can be necessarily like avoided as such. And this actually brings me to that point of our conversation where we just like pull up a poll here, for our audience to chime in on what are those some of the main symptoms per se here. Um, Kenny, and you can get eyes on this as well. What do you think it's going to be
Uh,
potentially?
Let's see. What are the symptoms most commonly deal with? Struggling to explain, relying on multiple inbox searches. For me, it's probably going to be them relying on multiple inbox searches. That would be my guess, but also incomplete
There we go.
documentation is a big one too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love a good poll.
see, yeah. I love a dynamic
Forgetting,
poll where like
I
you can
know.
say,
I just love data points too. That's so fun. But
I
yeah,
think enough said. As like someone who's like a senior AR manager at Greenhouse, I think it comes from like it's almost like muscle memory for you, probably.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting
Uh,
answers all across the board here.
yeah,
So, but it looks like
absolutely.
I don't want to say I was right, but I was right. It
You
looks
were,
like
yeah, you were
relying
right.
on multiple inbox searches is taking the lead. Oh, just dropped a little bit.
There
Somebody
we go.
else proved me wrong. But yeah, all across the board. I feel like all of these, also too, it depends on the year, it depends on the team who you talk to. Someone who answered struggle to explain aging buckets, that might be their issue this year. Next year,
Yep,
it might be tracking multiple spreadsheets. You know what I mean? Like it could change. It's such a dynamic question. Um,
absolutely.
for different teams of different industries and different sizes. So yeah,
But I think we have a winner here, just in terms of like relying on multiple inbox searches to handle
yeah,
audit questions. And that's something that we'll definitely be taking up during the course of this conversation as well. Thank you so much,
yeah,
folks.
yeah. And don't be shy. Feel free to drop things in the chat. We don't bite. I love when people chime into the chat. It's my absolute favorite. I'm usually the one in the chat.
There we go. All right. The next thing that we've definitely like identified over a period of time, not just basis the conversations that we've had with industry folks and across different verticals as well, is the fact that while we know that accounts receivable is really critical as a function for any high performing modern finance team. It often remains one of the most under engineered or under invested subdivisions within the order to cash environment. And some of the reasons that we've largely come across is the fact that monetization models have become more diverse and more complex, which means that there are different businesses running with different billing models. The payment channels are different. The methods of payments are different, this varies so greatly. And the same business can have like different models as well, right? There's no consolidated system of single source of truth in terms of bringing all of that AR data together as well. Manual processes have remained sacrosanct, like forever, right? Regardless of how much one realizes that finance digital transformation is the need of the hour, we're also seeing that many companies continue to remain wedded and locked into manual processes that definitely add to inefficiencies and compromise entire like cash flow and cash conversion cycles as well. Another key thing that we've seen over a period of time is that customer behavior has changed and continues to change, right? Because no two customers are alike, and disputes are likely to come up. This can vary, across industries. Within manufacturing itself, it can vary. Kelly and I do believe, like even in like the SaaS tech space that Greenhouse essentially operates in, you would have encountered this on multiple fronts, and this could be even like varying on a monthly basis. Something that you might want to like chime in here and share.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Just to go back to a point you had made a moment ago about
Yeah.
different, monetization models too. The last company that I worked for almost a decade ago at this point, they were primarily hardware and professional services. Now
Right.
I've been in SaaS for over 6 years. Such a like day and night. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
way that we build them, the way that the turnaround times, the terms, all of that good stuff, the credit checks, the whole process is very similar, but still very different. So, but yeah, to talk about number three, customer behavior has changed. I believe that since I've started at Greenhouse, which was January 2020, so we all know what happened about eight
Right.
weeks in my tenure, right? I've seen so many different waves happening. We saw that, and also too, while this is happening, Greenhouse is growing exponentially. So we
Right.
have all of these different growing pains that are going on while the economy is changing, while we're going through a global pandemic. And then fast forward to today, while we have all of these, other events happening in the world that have had impacts on economies and cash flow and all that good stuff. Not good stuff, but you know what I'm saying. I think that I've seen a lot of people who are trying to hold on to their cash a little longer, hold on to their liquid assets, right? So with that, we often see people waiting until the very last minute to pay, people kind of like holding on to cash as long as they possibly can, which in turn affects our DSO, right? So all these things are connected. So using specifically the I call it the Dunning's feature. I'll always call it the Dunning's feature. It is the collections strategy in
Mhm.
GrowFin has been a huge help because it's been sending out those reminders automatically. It's like out of sight, out of mind, set it up, forget it. And our customers are being pinged periodically to remind them of their balances. So regardless of their behaviors, we're still doing everything that we can do on our end to make
Right.
sure that they're getting as close to those net 30 or those net 45 terms as possible.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And I think point number two and four here are like very closely interconnected, right? The fact that there is a manual process involved largely foundationally, which essentially means that AR teams are losing out on time and efficiency and are constantly
Yeah.
attempting to play catch up. And all of this gets exacerbated during audit season, right?
Mhm.
When you're not just focusing on trying to close books and carry out your own collections, accomplish your own collections targets on for that particular month or quarter, but at the same time you're essentially like running around the bush,
Yeah.
trying to essentially cater to what auditors are saying. Great points there, Killian. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Let's move ahead. All right. So, what does all of this actually mean? We looked at the symptoms. We looked at why AR continues to be, one of the most under-engineered or under-invested functions within larger finance teams, and all of this actually has a very, very tangible and quantifiable impact in terms of how working capital gets blocked, and essentially it has trickle down effects on how companies and enterprises can leverage a lot of that revenue, right? Or just that cash flow in general, like it just gets trapped and you can't really do much about it. So based on a study that we did pretty recently, which is our we've compiled it through the Grofen DSO benchmarks calculator and report that we have on our website. We've realized that for a company worth $500 million, every 5 days of DSO actually comes out to be almost, as it increases, it almost comes out to be $7 million in trapped cash. And of course, there are nuances that we'll see across different industries like transportation and logistics, industry and manufacturing. But I'd like you to, like just share something along the lines of what you have experienced at Greenhouse, specifically probably in like the technology, software, and IT services space, because this definitely like if your cash flow is compromised, it really does not open up our opportunities for investment in any strategic avenues.
Yeah. So a lot of these examples that you have here on the screen, like transportation and logistics, healthcare services, science, a lot of those different industries are greenhouse customers. So we don't just
Right,
service SaaS companies, right?
right.
So we have a lot of different folks from a lot of different walks of life. We still have we have this one school district in New Jersey who requires like paper, like wet ink signed, like sort of thing, you know what I mean?
Okay,
So
right.
we're seeing all different types of
Mm-hmm.
needs from customers, right? Um, when we work with those customers, we usually have different notes and things like that set up in Grofin to remind us, like, hey, this customer always takes extra time to pay because of XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
When that customer's invoice comes back around again next year for their annual, we're able to engage with them a little more proactively, like, hey guys, I know the last 2 years you've needed 30 days to do this, this, and this. We're going to be invoicing you in a couple of weeks. Let's get that process started now so that when the time comes and that due date hits, they are paying as close to it as they possibly can, right? So GrowFin helps us with that
Awesome.
because it helps keeps us on track with all of these things because we're going to get customers in these types of industries that don't really follow that standard net 30 in the same way another SaaS company might that's a little bit more like technologically forward. So I'm looking at all of these figures here and like it's just there's just so much cash floating, you know what I mean? And as soon as I look at
Absolutely.
my aging, I'm like, where can we pull in? Where can we focus? Where can we kind of attack, I guess. That may not attack, but you know what I'm saying. Go after, talk
Yeah.
to, chase. I guess that's the right word. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's something that we'll cover in the course of this conversation as well, like how AI and automation can essentially like help you prioritize the right accounts to go after so that not only
Mhm.
does your aging bucket does not like it should not look obscenely bad, but at the same time, you're
Mhm.
also going after the accounts that are most likely to pay on potentially on time.
Yeah.
Awesome. And all of this, like we spoke about the symptoms, we looked at like the impact it has on the company's working capital and cash flow in general. All of this, as we were mentioning, Kellyanne, right? Like it gets brutally exposed during audit
Mhm.
season, right? So it's
Yeah.
a double whammy, it's a double blow. Not only are you actually like combating essentially, you're compromised on doing your normal collections and cash
Yeah.
application side of things, but at the same time, it really impacts team morale in general. I think that's something that you mentioned when we were catching up a few days ago. I'd like you to
Mhm.
like share a few inputs around that.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing that stood out to me about your question was team morale.
Right,
I operate and live by the rule: if my team's not happy, I'm not happy.
right,
I work to serve them. You know, they are the collectors, they are the cash appliers, they are the people that are doing the everyday work that brings the money in and keeps our cash flow moving.
right.
Um, so during seasons like this, you know, we're just coming off year end. Year end is a very stressful, busy, you know, lack of PTO time for AR teams.
Absolutely.
So when we come into that new year, it's kind of like the time where we get to take that deep breath and the time that we get to say, oh, those projects and those initiatives I wanted to work on, I finally have the time. And then they go and they get started. Just kidding. It's audit season. You have all of these things that you still need to do. And I'm so proud to say, like this year, we've had a couple of requests from auditors, and it's all been 20, 30, 40-minute type projects.
Mm-hmm.
It has not taken days. It has not derailed us completely. It has not thrown us completely off course. If I'm eating lunch and I see an audit request come through, by the time I'm back at my desk, someone on my team's already wrapped it up with a bow. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And still hit collections that day. We still applied our cash appropriately and, on and timely. We're still attending meetings. We're still doing all of the things that are still required of us for our job description, in addition to getting my controller and my finance team all of the information they need from the auditors, right? And then also too, just worrying about making sure that it's accurate too, because I would not want to send an auditor information and then
Mm-hmm.
it's wrong or it's not right, it's not up to the standard that they expect, because that's a reflection on my team as well. So the morale piece is really important, for me when it comes to audit season, because I want to make sure my team is happy, productive, doing things the way that they need to be done, and we're not rushing around and just trying to spit information out that's just going to come back to us as wrong later. So this year's definitely been the best so far. So I'm very proud of that.
All right, fingers crossed, because we only go
Not
from
over
strength to
yet.
strength, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're in like
and
the seventh inning right now.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I think all of that, what you said, right? That remains at the foundation of what a lot of AR teams have to deal with. But some
Yeah.
of the other, sort of like double blows that come ER teams way could look or take the shape of like higher audit costs in general,
Yeah.
because the more time auditors have to wait for this information to come their
Hmm.
way, they're billing the company slightly extra on that. So it becomes like a gross and a macro exercise in
Hmm.
trying to manage inefficiencies, which should never be the case at all if you have AI native or AI led accounts receivable
Hmm.
automation batting for you. I just built on the seventh inning stretch, so I was like batting for you. There we go. Okay,
Thank you.
but
I love a good
there we
analogy.
absolutely, and I think this is also highlighted by a Glass Cube's study recently that we came across, which essentially mentioned that during audit season, AR teams are actually averaging almost 72 hours a week. So they're working, like double time almost, to not
Yeah.
just cater to their daily collections
Hmm.
objectives or AR mandate, but at the same time having to cater to a lot more of like these audit requests that come their way, and they're spending almost 90% of their time on merely following up and gathering manual evidence, right? And all of this can be solved in many ways if you have like your basic foundations in place.
Yeah, that's a staggering number. I didn't see that up until now. So that's a lot, and I'm so glad that's not my case because I definitely
Yeah.
wouldn't want to live in a world where we have to deal with that. But you're right, AR is such a busy role. We're
Right.
constantly moving, and it's one of those roles too where the job is never, ever, ever done. There's always a past due invoice. Like,
True.
well, they'll never have a situation where I'm like, well, I did a great job today. I'm all done. My aging is clean. Because guess what? There's 20 more that just got closed won that are coming down the pipeline. So thinking about that never-ending workload and streamline of work, adding 70 something hours on top of that, just to,
Mhm.
review the things we did, 6, 8, 9 months ago. That's a staggering fact. And I'm glad I didn't see it yesterday because I would have thought about it all night and I wouldn't have slept. So
We're still in the seventh inning, so I would
yeah.
recommend you don't think about it even now. All right.
For once, I'm gonna forget a number, and that's gonna be the one that I'm gonna forget on purpose.
There we go. Yeah. For someone with a penchant for being so data driven, that's probably one
Yeah,
data point that you can just let that slide. All right.
in one ear out
And
the other. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And that brings us to, essentially how all of this impacts key personnel and, stakeholders within the larger AR team. How does it
Mhm.
impact them? And Killian, as a senior AR manager at Greenhouse, I think you could, there's no better person to, wax eloquent about the fact that there are operational complexities that you could potentially worry about. There's a controller who's also looking probably at
Mhm.
closing books on time, ensuring that
Mhm.
remediations are like taken care of. Your thoughts on this, coming from the perspective, and given the fact that there is a chain of command, you have different stakeholders within the team itself. Based on your experience, how do you view this?
So, I mean, the audit touches everybody and everything. It's like
Right.
that saying in The Lion King, everything the light touches is ours. I don't know if you guys
Ah,
remember that movie from the 90s where he
yes,
holds
yes,
Simba
of
up.
course.
I think of it all
Yeah.
the time. Everything that the light touches is the audit, right? But but as the AR manager, I'm responsible, me and my team are responsible for those nitty-gritty details, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been so lucky. I've had fantastic controllers my entire career.
Mm-hmm.
So really working with them has just been a communications piece. To when we've had earlier audit seasons where I did uncover, okay, maybe this year we need to do this process a little differently. We have an opportunity here for adjustment. I took those and I brought them to my controller and they were like, that's fantastic. Let's get the ground rolling. Let's do that for the next, whatever, however months. And then the next audit season comes around and all those problems that we had the audit season before have been fixed. Um, I will say because I work so closely with the controller and we've had like growth year
Mm-hmm.
over year as far as like the fixings go. And I think this is an accomplishment. I haven't had much touch points with our CFOs
Right.
about the audit. So I feel like that's a good thing. And most people might be like, no, like, what do you mean you don't talk to your CFO? The controller and I, we're good. We got it. You know what I'm saying? So then when the controller goes to the CFO and back to the auditors and says, here's what my AR team has done and is doing, good, all good. I love that. Less is more, you know? So,
Right.
but everybody that you see on the screen here gets affected by it, has to answer to it. And it all starts with the nitty-gritty details of my team, where a payment gets applied or if a payment gets misapplied, how do we fix it? All that good stuff. And it kind of rolls up the chain. So yeah, I've had a lot of experience working with my controllers throughout the years on audit season. And luckily, not much with the CFO. So we're counting that as a win.
Well, at least in my conversations with CFOs and senior finance leaders, I think this does come up in conversation where essentially it just comes down to the fact that revenue recognition and what they can potentially do with that
Yes.
cash flow becomes very
Hmm.
critical. Just a strategic application of being able to unlock that working capital becomes
Hmm.
critical. So, of course, they're looking at both the accounts receivable and the accounts payable side of things, right?
Hmm.
At the end of the day, but just in terms of being able to understand what they can unlock and then eventually
Yeah.
like spend and invest, I think that becomes really, really critical. So
Agreed.
yeah, all right. I think that is something that brings us to our next part of the conversation, and this is exactly where Growfin comes into the picture, right, Kelly? And I think you can
Mhm.
also vouch for that. We'll get on that slightly later, but essentially what it means is that you need your collections piece and your
Mhm.
cash application side of things to move almost in like an always on infinity loop,
Yeah.
and that is exactly what makes audit season as well business as usual. So everything begins with intelligent segmentation, where you're segmenting basis their risk scores that get updated on a dynamic basis, and we then essentially move to automated dunning, right? And I think, Kelly, and this is something that you have, like this is something that you're like personally passionate
Mhm.
about as well, right? The fact that follow-ups, when they were done perhaps like just manually, can actually miss their mark. But
Mhm.
when it's like actually regimented based on real-time account health scores and customer segmentation, ensures that you're actually reaching out to the right accounts at the right time with the right message
Mhm. Yeah.
to produce the right result, right?
Yeah.
The third thing that obviously comes up very often is disputes, which is a very critical,
Mhm. Yeah.
unignorable component
Yeah.
of AR in general. And all of this actually comes together within a consolidated, almost like an accounts receivable inbox or a collaborative hub, where you're not losing track of any of these, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the number of AR team members that you have, all of this remains consolidated. All of this has like communication threads that ensure that nothing falls through the cracks as well,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And I think, Kilian, cash apps is something that you've derived a lot of benefit from while
Yeah.
working with Rofin. So I'd like for you to like share some thoughts on that.
Sure. And I just want to say, Helena, too, what I'm going to say ties into your question. So this is great.
Yes,
Perfect timing for
exactly.
sending it.
There we go.
Thank
There we
you.
go. Yeah.
I love talking about Cash App. So when we first implemented Growfin, the first thing that we focused on was the cash application piece, right? For context, my junior most team member was doing this every single morning. Our process is that we apply previous business day cash, 8 a.m. Eastern time,
Hmm.
and we just kind of get our books up to date that way. And it was a very manual process within NetSuite. We're NetSuite users. And it was taking, on a better day, 45 minutes, on a busier day, end of month, end of quarter, you're looking at up to an hour and a half, right? And that was just too
Hmm.
much of a pain point for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, no one should have to spend 90 minutes applying cash every morning. Number
True.
two, the rest of the team couldn't start their collections, their reporting, their documentation, whatever they needed to do until the banks were updated because you don't want to work off an outdated aging. That would be silly, right?
True.
I don't want to send collections to somebody and then 10 minutes later, oh wait, we just received their payment. Now we look silly, we've wasted time. It's a whole thing, right? So when we started moving over to Growfin and doing our Cash App there, one of the biggest things for us was time and accuracy. Okay. So the Growfin takes care of the accuracy piece, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But the time commitment that it takes has decreased significantly. My junior most team member, every single day when the bank is done, she slacks the group chat and she says, "Bank's in, guys, good to go, have a good day." That was happening in the 9:20, 9:30, 9:40. We're all on the East Coast too, for reference.
Hmm.
Time frame. Now it's happening well before 9 a.m. So we're getting almost an hour back, Sometimes it's 8:20, sometimes it's 8:30, depending on what the workload looks like that day. But it has saved us so much time. And then now the rest of the team gets all that time back because now I can start pulling reporting. My team can start doing collections, all that good stuff. Then, as far as the accuracy piece goes, so we talked about timeliness, let's talk about accuracy.
Right.
When we first implemented Growfin, it's a learning system, right? It's AI.
Correct.
It's going to take some time to learn you, your customer base, who pays, how they pay, when they pay, all that good stuff. I'm sure every single person on this call is going to relate to this, but how many times have you guys gotten a payment? No name, no invoice, nothing to
True.
reference, just $100,000 sent
Yeah.
to you
You know.
without
Yeah.
any like. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I love getting $100,000 in our bank accounts, but who did it come from? Where am I applying it? Like, what is this stuff? I just can't let 100K sit willy-nilly on my aging out being applied. So after about, I want to say a week and a half to 2 weeks of every single morning
Hmm.
doing the work in the cash application piece inside Growfin, we already started to see a shift. So
Okay.
Helena, that kind of answers your question. As little as 2 weeks as far as the cash application piece goes. The way that the cash application feature works is you have three buckets. You have a full 100% match. Growfin is 100% sure that this payment applies to this invoice. Then the second, you have a partial match. And then three, you have no match. And all of those folks that send in 100K with no name or invoice number, they all go in the no match because those need human intervention. There's just no way any system is going to know that, right? And then as far as the middle section, I will say I haven't really seen anything under the 90 to 95%. Growfin is
Hmm.
95% sure that this payment belongs to this customer, and my team does a quick review, applies it, and it looks good. Growfin also remembers what you told it too. So if a customer, that operates under a different name sent us a payment for 50K today, and then they do it again 3 months from now for their next quarterly invoice, Growfin's going to remember that. And all you're just going to have to do is do a quick visual search, visual review, and it's applied. So it's just saving my team so much time as far as cash application goes. And I feel so much more confident that it's actually accurate. There are a couple that you will have to research. Again, that can't be helped because people love to send money without any reference numbers or anything like that. So
Right.
that's where my team's spending the time. But I feel like that's the best use of time. The ones that are quick and easy, Growfin's taking care of for us. The ones that nobody can figure out, my team is doing a little bit of a deep dive on and spending a couple of minutes trying to find those payments and getting them applied appropriately. So yeah.
Fantastic insights. And in many ways, Kellyanne, it's like when we talk about cash apps, it's almost like this invisible agent that's working in the
Yeah.
background
Mm-hmm.
to make your life so much easier, and to be able to do that at speed, scale, and with accuracy. You mentioned a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that, right?
Yeah.
And I think you've summarized that beautifully. Awesome.
Thank you.
And essentially, like three major use cases that I wanted to like quickly cover here. And in fact, the third one, Kellyanne, you've probably done a far better job than I could, talking from the horse's mouth in just in terms of implementation. We'll come to that as well. But this is, essentially how AI powered collections, is improved in terms of audit readiness. Comes down to also, like we briefly touched upon, like the entire, when we talked about agentic collections, we spoke about how risky accounts or at-risk accounts get flagged basis the model that we have, which takes into account almost 15 plus life signals. So it's a dynamic health score, which gives
Yeah.
you a detailed understanding of every single account, and it's not static in any regard, and
Yeah.
this what becomes the foundation for segmentation in general. So this makes it so much more easier to essentially like move into the next phase of adaptive dunning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Ashish, if we can move ahead to the next one. And cash application, right? We sorry. Okay. So this
Oh, lost it, place.
no, yeah.
I do it all the time. Don't worry about
No.
it.
Not a worry. This is something that I definitely wanted to highlight here because we spoke about how audit readiness is dependent upon being able to furnish the right information at the right
Mm-hmm.
time to the auditors.
Yep.
But you can build that all year round by ensuring that all of this becomes consolidated, communication threads within an AR inbox itself, where you're capturing details about invoices, your disputes, and everything becomes like an automated thread in general. So all you need to do
Mm-hmm.
is search and offer it
Yeah.
up to your auditor based on
Mm-hmm.
whatever they actually ask for. So you're wasting precious, you're not really wasting precious hours trying to do that as well. And the fact that, like we have this, AI related summarization of emails itself is actually making teams far more efficient in nature,
Yeah.
and also like contributing to ensuring that communication threads remain sacrosanct and easily traceable throughout, right?
Agreed.
Cache applications, I think we just covered.
Yeah.
Kellyanne, I think you did a fantastic job there.
Sorry,
And
I jumped the gun on that one. I get excited about cash
no,
applications.
sometimes it's important to jump the gun. So that was very
Yeah.
well done. But primarily speaking, from the fact that you need to have that confidence in terms
Yeah.
of accuracy in matching as well. Of course, there will be outlier scenarios, but at the end of the day, this is what becomes critical to improve exception and deduction handling with easy to set up workflows as well. And as I said, right, it's an infinity loop in general. Collections and cash apps have to work hand in hand to ensure
Yeah.
that it's business as usual, even during audit season.
Agreed.
At this
Again, that's that
juncture,
chicken and the
yes,
egg.
absolutely. But at this juncture, Kellyanne, I want to take a quick second to set up a quick poll. I just want to like
Okay.
gather the thoughts of our audience on this, and we'll probably then quickly jump into our question and answer session.
Yes, definitely. And I saw Sam submitted a question in the chat, so we'll make sure we answer
Sam did.
that one
Yes,
first.
absolutely. We have a few coming in, so we'll quickly get there.
Awesome.
This is one of the things that happens, right, when it's a fireside chat. It's a fireside chat to avoid fire drills during audit season.
Yeah. I don't have any fire puns. I don't know enough. I'm so sorry. I
No,
don't
that's
have them
fine. That's
handy.
fine. I'm gonna like, if you like that one, I'm gonna take that as a win.
Go for it.
Okay, cool. So, which use case excites you the most in terms of what we've essentially showcased? And I have a feeling that it's probably going to be. What do you think, Killian? I definitely feel like account prioritization could be one, and dispute handling could be
I
another
mean,
one.
again, like with my answer on the last poll, it depends on time and place. Someone's answer
That's
today
true.
could not be the same as tomorrow.
That's
But
true. I think
I
forecasting
do
future
find
cash
that,
flows is also pretty critical.
yeah, yeah, cash flow is usually the big question. So that's gonna be my vote.
Cool. All right. What do we have?
What's our
Okay.
answer?
We have forecasting future cash flows and real-time visibility into AR options. That shows
Okay,
up pretty high up. And of course, it's a tie between dispute handling and matching and posting of payments. There we go.
perfect.
Awesome. All right. I think we can now quickly dive into our question and answer session. We have a few that have come in. Second.
So I think maybe you want to handle Sam's question. So Sam said, is there any AI support for exception cases
Yes.
that traditionally requires human intervention? Good question, Sam. Thank you.
Yes, at this juncture, I'd like to quickly bring in our solutions expert as well, solutions engineering expert, who's also on this call. I'll just bring in who happens to be Som. We can just get him in quickly. All right, I think we have a couple more questions that have come in. Yeah, Som is here. There we go. So Som, we'd
Hi.
like to know, welcome, belated welcome to the party here. Som, thanks so much for joining us. Is there any AI support for exception cases that traditionally requires human intervention?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing me in, Pradyut, and hey, Kalyan. Pleasure meeting you. So, great question. I think I'll probably share my screen real quick and give a
Sure.
quick walkthrough to what we do potentially for exception cases. Let me share screen. So yeah, this is our cash application page wherein we are pulling in the payments from your bank. And like Kellyanne was mentioning, it's pretty seamless, identifying the match rates, the confidence scores. But what becomes critical is a scenario wherein, let's say, the system is not fully confident and it falls in an exception bucket. Let's take an example, right? I'm just opening up a sample payment wherein it's a partial match and your team needs assistance to figure out the payment is for which invoice or set of invoices, right? The first thing, we assist you with a confidence score as to which invoice or invoices we think the payment is for. And this is purely not just based on descriptions or remarks, it's also based on the system's continuous learning, right? Which I think, Kalyan, you were mentioning a while ago. That's the best part, right? Even though we are not fully sure, we give you a confidence score and tell you this is probably for this invoice. If there is an adjustment that has to be done, the system helps you make those adjustments. And the best part, just so that you're double sure, right? It helps you send templatized responses or emails to customers, just requesting them to say a yes or a no. That's, hey, this is what we feel the payment is for. And then if they say a yes or a no, that acts as a source of remittance, right? So yes, complete support for exception handling use cases we do provide.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Som. We got a question that's coming from
Yeah, I
Greg
got
as
one from
well.
Greg.
There we
Okay,
go.
so
What
Greg wrote in
percentage
and
of
said,
yeah, what
sorry.
percentage of cash applications can realistically get covered without any human interaction?
So that answer is going to change and get better as time goes on because, like I said, and like the team said, the AI has a learning system, right?
So, yeah.
So whatever it looked like when we had first implemented it, it has changed drastically because Girlfriend has learned our customer base, our systems, who pays what, when, and why, and how, all that good stuff, right? So when we first started, it was probably 0 to 10% of no human interaction, right? 2 weeks later, that number probably went up, probably doubled, if not tripled, right? Today, I popped in before my junior most team member was able to do the bank this morning. I actually beat her online for once. I looked, and I want to say somewhere between 85 and 90% of our payments that came in yesterday were in the total match column, right? So
Okay.
she just looked down, did a quick visual check. Yeah, I remember them telling us they're going to pay, just kind of like look down, select all, and then applied. And then when we have situations too, like if customers take out bank fees, that automatically happens too.
Mm-hmm.
Growth recognizes it. We have a dollar amount threshold set, so she doesn't even have to go in and audit the bank fee total to get the invoice to be paid in full. So the 5 to 10 to 15% that's gonna require the human interaction, it's gonna be those payments where customers operate under a different name that we've never been associated with before, like a DBA, or they send money without any identifying factors whatsoever.
Yeah.
So those are going to be the only two situations, and that will never change. That's not something we can control. But I do feel like we are able to minimize the amount of time that we're spending on this. Everybody that we know the system knows is good to go gets applied automatically. Everybody that we don't, that's where we spend those couple extra minutes on. So yeah. How long did it
Fantastic.
take for you to get to 85%? Amber asks.
Yeah.
Probably about a month and a half to 2 months. The thing to note about Greenhouse too is because we sell software, we're not invoicing our customers every, week or other week. A lot of our customers are on quarterly, semi-annual, or annual payments. So if we taught Growfin today that, let's say, Toys R Us paid us 100 grand, right? Toys R Us paid us 100 grand today. I had to teach the system that because they sent it without money. Toys R Us only gets invoiced annually. So the next time that issue comes up will be in a year, So it's going to take some time, and it all depends on your frequency of billing. If you have customers every day or something longer term like us, where we do quarterly, semi, or annual. So yeah.
Awesome, Kelly. And I think fantastic insights, always a great conversation. And what better um a person to hear from who's actually experienced the impact of what we bring to the table, both on the collections and cash applications front, and to be able to ensure that business moves as usual during audit season and ensures that like it's pretty much BAU all year round. And there'll be a bunch of questions. I know we've run a little over time here. This is one of those rare webinars, by the way, Kellyanne, where it's a fireside chat that's gone into like a little bit of like extra time, overtime. I don't know what you call it. I can, if I may use like a Super Bowl reference, but yeah.
Well, it's not rare when I get to talk about accounts receivable that I go over time, so that happens all the time.
And we're all for that, right? But in due interest of time, I'm
Yes,
sure there are others on the call who have like a bunch of questions. Please do scan the QR code on the screen. We'll be more than happy to set up a personalized, customized demo call with you, with some of our great folks here at Rofin, and then we can take it from there. But in the due interest of time, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Kellyanne, you have been an absolute delight to always engage with. Thank you so much for being a champion of AR, a hero of AR, and a champion of Growfin at large. Som, thank you so much for dropping by and answering with your question as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Everyone.
Have a good day.
Everyone.
Thank you.